just hanging out at the Walter Lur show. And if you don't know Walter Lur, DTKLAMF. Let's go.
You come from New York, you were doing things with the New York Dolls a few years ago, which now are all the rage in England, and yet America, it's still a very big minority, a small minority cult.
All right, any story that starts with Walter Lur, that we're going to talk about Walter Lur, man, it's going to have to come starting with New York City and the New York Dolls. Walter Lur plays for the Heartbreakers, and the main guy in that is Johnny Thunders. And I just wanted to say that I didn't realize it. And I think most people who grew up getting into music just prior to the internet coming up, when you would go out, you'd buy an album and you would listen to it over and over again. So when I went out and bought Johnny Thunders and the Heartbreakers, I just assume it's Johnny Thunders, right? Doing all the vocals and the lead guitars, because, man, he's from the New York Dolls. And the New York Dolls were one of the greatest bands ever. And I know a lot of people don't know them, and a lot of people, especially back then, but in New York, they were like the kings of the underground. And their two first albums are fantastique. So when you listen to all those Johnny Thunder albums and bootlegs and that, of course I assume that it's Johnny. Johnny's doing the vocals, and that Johnny just has a way of being able to change his voice a little bit. Sometimes he's super sloppy, and sometimes, he's on point, right? And knowing the history of Johnny Thunders, you know that he's a drug addict, and that he, can get sloppy, and he can also pull it together at times, right? By the way, it's not that rare if you think about it. Iggy changed his voice many different times, and actually even between the three albums, he kind of changes it from, well, all right, to, the high yelps of raw power to the more franticness of the Funhouse album. So I'm thinking, yeah, that's the way it is. What I didn't realize was that, man, a lot of those guitar licks and a lot of those vocals are all Walter Lur. It's crazy. And you find that out like years later. Thank God for the internet. So the Heartbreakers start jamming around New York, and then because they have a connection via the New York Dolls with Malcolm McLaren, who's running the Sex Pistols at this point, they decide that they're going to head over to London just to try to get things going. Things aren't kind of rolling for them in New York. So Walter Lur, Johnny Thunders, and the boys head over to London. And they don't know it. They're about to join the Sex Pistol Anarchy tour, and the Sex Pistols are on TV confronting Bill Grundy, and they're going to deal with that. So they land there. The whole country is in an uproar. Almost all the shows are canceled, but they have to tour around England anyways, so that way they can get paid. And some of the shows are on. So they all hop in, they travel around, they do their stuff. And I would imagine that because in London everybody was really young and they were all just starting to kind of get into it. But a band like the Heartbreakers who comes over, they're like tried, tested, and true. And they're also like, how can I word this? They're probably one of the most dangerous bands in the world at the time. This is a street tough, drug addicted band who's going over, and they know how to play, they know how to lay it down, they're going to take care of business. And they're going to do basically a residence in London for the next year, and they're going to record an album called LAMF, which I strongly recommend you check out. hindsight, when I watch it now, he kind of holds the band together. You know, Johnny's like, he can come on, he's playing some of the licks, he's gonna bang out some of the songs. Sorry, I'm just looking for something here. But, well, check that out, man. What do we got here? Look at that panther. Dude, that's pretty sweet. I should come back here when they're open. Ooh. Anyways, so Walter Lure kind of holds like the band together. I'm sure Jerry Nolan's gonna hold it, you know, down the backbeat when he's jamming. Billy Rath on bass, but you know, Walter's doing a lot of the vocals, a lot of the guitar licks, and you know, a lot of those riffs I thought was Johnny. A lot of those vocals, I thought Johnny was knocking them out, and you know, it's true that Johnny's the star, but I think Walter Lure is kind of the unsung hero of the band, and probably didn't get the credit that he should have. It's also reported that he's played on a couple of 2 or 3 Ramones albums in the 80s, and just really didn't get a lot of credit for it. But apparently he got paid, and they said very special thanks to Walter Lure. Walter will go out, put his own band together called the Waldos, which Johnny used to call him. You know, this one goes out to my man Waldo. The fact that they're playing those New York Dolls songs are also really cool too, and Heartbreaker tracks. It's basically a continuation of the Dolls, just in a more kind of like stripped down, sleeker version of it. In the meantime, I'm just grabbing some vegan Kung Pao chicken.
Junkie business. Junkie business. Junkie business. I'll never end up like you. Never end up. Your life becomes a sickening as Messi calls his face and Piggins his girlfriend. I got it about Nolan. Wrap it up, call it on, stick your record up your ass. Your life becomes as sickening as that mess you call your face. The pig you call your girlfriend. She's dead from shooting mace. Oh, climbing up the walls, shot some old mothballs. Wrap it up, call it on, now your record's in the truck. Junkie business, too much. Business.
Johnny and Walter always seem to have a little bit of turmoil on stage, which is kind of something that's pretty cool. I don't know how much of it was kind of manufactured. There's talk about Johnny liking the idea of that turmoil on stage. They kind of push each other around. I think some of it had to do with the fact that, I mean, at one point Johnny's yelling something like, "I'll never be like you," and he was pretty out of it on that one.
Coolest thing in town. In a hospital bed. A dead old nurse going through my head.
The other cool thing is too, you know, when you are, let's say, like a big fan of the Dolls, right? Because Too Much Junkie Business and Pills are pretty much the same song, which is why sometimes they'll do like a medley of it. But the cool part is, in regards to that, is they also do like 7 Day Weekend and you know, another New York Dolls track.
Someone's gonna keep it. Alright. How the fuck are you? So what do you got for me?
So then Johnny will go off and die. Same with Jerry Nolan, Billy Rath as well. But the cool thing is Walter Lure is still alive, still doing the old songs. He'll play with Mike Ness, Glenn Matlock, Clem Burke, Mick Rossi, and just a whole slew of other guys, Wayne Kramer. So there's a ton of really good Johnny Thunder songs, and Heartbreakers tracks. I recommend, Pirate Love, one of my all-time favorite tunes. Can't Keep My Eyes on You, 7-Day Weekend, Don't Mess with Cupid. Of course, there's the big ones: Chinese Rocks, Born Loose. Man, just check them out. There's not that many, and some people complain about the LAMF mix and everything, but man, I didn't find it that bad at all. I must have got a remix one or something because I thought it sounded great. Still do. Dolls, definitely check out. Some great songs on that are, of course, Lonely Planet Boy, 7-Day Weekend, Don't Mess with Cupid, There's Gonna Be a Showdown, Bad Girl. Oh man, every time I go out on a date, for some reason I listen to Bad Girl, just because of the idea. It's like such a rocking song, Human Being, if I already said that. Puss in Boots, Chatterbox with Johnny singing, There Goes My Girl, whatever that song's called, I forget. Great Big Kiss, Johnny does that as well. Just fantastic songs, man. I recommend checking them out. The first 2 albums by the Dolls, you can't go wrong. Definitely you can't go wrong. After you listen to those, maybe listen to A Hard Day's Night by the Dolls. It's kind of like the pre-recordings, so they're not really mixed that great. I wouldn't start off with that, but man, it's fantastic. Shout out to, I think his name is CT Flipside. Actually, I was just typing in New York Dolls. Once in a while, I'll just type it in to see if anything new comes out, if anybody has new stuff or whatever. And, unreleased footage I've never seen before. I ran into his documentary by pure coincidence. I just typed in Walter Lure into Google, and it turns out he was doing a concert near me. So that's how I got to go see tonight's show. Yeah, totally, man. Fantastic time. Listening to those bands, listening to that music, just getting into, the coolness, man.